We're back on this special Earth Day edition of Cattleman to Cattleman as we talk with members of the beef industry about the ways they work every day to invest in our planet. Joining me now is John Williamson of Williamson Cattle Company. John, thanks for being with us. Can you give us a brief history about your family's Florida ranch?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I am a fourth generation cattle rancher here in Okeechobee, Florida. The property was originally bought by my great grandfather in the 1940s. Currently have the fifth generation living here on the property with us. And we're a diversified operation in multiple states, a couple different commodities. I had the benefit of working with my father and sister in the family business.
You've utilized some unique type of easement programs here on the ranch. Can you maybe explain what those are to our viewers and tell us how you use them?
So we have some property that it is in a conservation easement, WRP, Wetlands Reserve Project, and that is, in essence, holds up water, rejuvenates, restores wetlands. They are of great benefit to us this time of the year. We are able to graze them here in the state of Florida, and the NRCS looks at it as a benefit because the cattle do keep the property maintained, also help with invasive species, but also it holds water up this time of the year. We're currently in a drought cycle, and so it keeps our water levels high and helps to grow grass.
You talk about being in a drought cycle. I know a lot of people look at this green grass that we're standing in and say, you know, really a drought, but your rainfall has been below normal. How does your water management throughout the year kind of help you set you up to manage through a drought?
So we have numerous structures that allow us to control our water, not only to hold water up for times of the year like this, but also to prevent nutrient runoff. We basically have to set our stocking rates off of this time of the year. This is, believe it or not, the least amount of grass that we will have, you know, this late spring going into summer. So, you know, we manage water year round. There's times of the year where obviously, you know, we have to discharge considerable amounts because we average 50 inches a year, with most of it coming during the summer.
So when you talk about discharging water then, how do you work to make sure that your valuable nutrients stay here on the ground, going into the grass and the ground instead of out into the water?
So before we put out any nutrients, we do soil and tissue test. We're about 7 miles north of Lake Okeechobee. So we, you know, obviously the water leaving this property gets a lot of attention. In essence, it needs to be cleaner leaving than what it came on the property. So we hold that water up to recharge those nutrients into the soil with structures like mentioned earlier. And we only put out fertilizer that we need. We use those soil and tissue tests not only for the major elements, but also the micronutrients. And we only put out fertilizer that we can justify. The expense of it currently really prevents you from overusing. I mean, you know, that kind of works hand in hand with conservation. We do not put out any more nutrients than we absolutely have to have.
Which is why those soil tests are so important to kind of manage some input costs too.
Absolutely, and you know, that's part of our BMPs, you know, working with FDAC's, Florida Department of Ag and Consumer Services. So.
Yeah. Now, cattle play a huge role in helping to manage the land too and provide an environment for wildlife, to manage nutrients. Talk about how cattle play a role in your stewardship and conservation efforts.
So we graze cattle on all the property we have, that with the exception of the citrus groves, and even in the conservation easements we use them. They help keep, you know, the grasses down to a manageable level because you know, if you took the cattle off, the grass here would be head high basically, and of no value. So the cattle keep those species grazed down, they keep them in control. The NRCS, Natural Resource and Conservation Service, recognizes them as a benefit for removing nutrients. They go out, they graze the grass, thus turn it into beef and in essence remove those nutrients from the land.
Yeah, but turn it into a valuable protein product. Another product, you mentioned diversification and citrus groves. A lot of places here in Florida have used cattle and citrus. You always hear about cattle and citrus in Florida. Talk about the citrus groves, how you manage the water for that, and the stewardship efforts in your groves.
So my family's also been in the citrus business for a number of years, and in recent years it's been very tough. We've had a lot of challenges with diseases and hurricanes. some of the things that we do conservation-wise, we get water from the city of Okeechobee. We reuse water. Their water, they bring it in, treat it, and then we use it to utilize to grow crops, citrus and some silage products. We also, in recent years, have started protecting the trees with nets to keep the Asian citrus psyllid out, which is the vector for greening disease. That's allowed us to use far less sprays. Those nets basically keep the trees clean and healthy without the use of pesticides. We use biosolids when we can instead of fertilizer, and even when we do use fertilizer, much like the grass, we're pulling soil and tissue tests to make sure what the trees need. We do not put out fertilizer, during the wet times of the year because it's impossible to retain it. And we try to use fertigation as much as possible, slowly feeding the trees. The benefits of that are if you do have a big rain event, you don't lose it all at once. You're slowly putting it out to the trees.
A lot to think about in citrus.
It is, yes. It's a fun business, though.
Yeah. You mentioned water going into Lake Okeechobee. Your proximity to Lake Okeechobee draws a lot of visitors who enjoy the natural landscape and outdoor landscape and wildlife here. What opportunity does it present you and your family to talk about your sustainability efforts, your conservation efforts, and how cattle can really play a role in maintaining this ecosystem for wildlife and for clean water for visitors to enjoy?
Yeah, we have numerous opportunities to tell our story to people that are maybe not familiar with cattle ranching and the benefits of it. There are a lot of visitors to this area. Florida's growing. There's almost 1,000 people a day moving in. So we take every opportunity to do tours. We take every opportunity to have legislators out or just people in general that may not fully understand, because in essence, if they don't think that we're important, then it's a threat to our business. They all have a say. They're all voters, and once they see that what we're doing is friendly to the environment and a good, safe product we're producing, it helps us all.
That's a great point you make about them all being voters and helping to make decisions that help you keep here on the land. Thank you for having us out today. Thanks for your insights, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you.